I mean, there's sometimes when people will push your buttons and then it's like, all right, you need a reminder. Y'all need a refresher course. And LL Cool J handed out a top flight refresher course on how to get your ass kicked in Rap Beef 101. What's going on, everybody? You're right on time for another ride on the Groove Line with your host, Chris Stevens. Welcome back. This is day 2 of the BMM 30 series here on the Groove Line. Now, what that is, it's the Black Music Month 30 series. That means June is Black Music Month. So for 30 days in the month, June is 30 days long. So bear with me if I sound a little tired at the end of this, but yes, we are going to have a video a day. There's going to be me reviewing albums, songs, talking about artists and genres. I'm going to have some special guests. I got some special guests lined up. Can't wait to introduce you to these folks as we discuss music on here. So it's going to be fun. Be sure you subscribe, tap the notification bell to be notified of everything that drops on this channel. And don't forget to like and comment on these videos. That's what gets the algorithm going, and that's how more eyes and ears can get on this channel. And this is a passion project for me that I'm very passionate about, and I want this to grow. And with your help, it can grow. So we're on day 2 now. And it's Monday, and you kind of need something to get you through Monday. So we're going to start with beef this week. And it was so interesting to watch Kendrick Lamar pretty much dissect Drake from the ground up on so many different levels on Meet the Grams, 616 in LA. Euphoria is my favorite, but Not Like Us was pretty much like dancing on his grave. I mean, we just looked at, Not Like Us as the kill shot, but actually the kill shot was Euphoria. You probably could argue that Meet the Grams was the kill shot because that was oof. Alchemist really needs to be, he needs to be tried. He's a bad man for the haunting beat that he gave Kendrick to just absolutely embarrass Drake and his entire family over. Like, it's one of those songs that it took me a while to listen to because actually it scared me. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yes, this instance of this moment in rap beef history, we're going back to the spring of 1998. I was 16 years old. I was a junior in high school. And this is back when I used to tape songs off the radio at will. Mind you, this was before streaming. We didn't have a home computer, so we couldn't burn CDs. Matter of fact, I don't think you could start burning CDs until later on in the late, like 99, 2000, 2001-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood. But I used to tape stuff off the radio all the time. Like, I spent so much of my paycheck at my after-school job just buying blank tapes and just taping stuff off the radio. So here's how it used to work. If you're not familiar, you used to have a blank cassette tape. Just Google it, kids. Trust me. Just Google cassette tape. And you would sit by the radio. And if your parents had a cassette player with a radio in it, you would have your record button, your play button, your rewind, your fast forward, your pause, and your stop. And you had to have a quick 2 fingers to hit record and play at the same time because that was the only way you'd be able to record stuff off the radio. You had to be quick because you never knew when the DJ was going to stop talking and the record was going to play. And then you had to have a quick finger for the stop button because you never knew when the DJ was going to start talking again or when there was a commercial break or a radio break in between the songs. So you had to be quick with your fingers. Quick fingers. Ayo. But anyway. So yes, this is back in my recording stuff off the radio days, or taping stuff off the radio days, as I used to call it. Some people say recording, some people say taping. I'm in the say tape camp. But yes, 1998. It actually starts 97, 98-ish. Because LL Cool J has a song called 4321 with DMX, may he rest in peace, Method Man and Redman, and an up-and-coming rapper named Canibus. And Canibus has a great verse. He starts off as a house of fire. I'm the illest alive. Watch me prove it. I snatch your crown with your head still attached to it. And it's like, ooh, like, it's just like he means business. And apparently that is because, Canibus allegedly wanted the microphone tattoo with the crown on it that LL Cool J has on his arm. I don't know which arm. I'm not looking at LL's body close enough to give a damn, but I just know that's where the genesis of this whole thing started. And LL was like, all right, let me go back in and re-record this verse. So he's like, this emblem on my arm is off limits to challenges. And he's just like, don't do it. But Canibus was like, all right, I'm going to do it anyway. And that's when Second Round Knockout comes into play. There's a Mike Tyson guest appearance on this, where Mike is hyping up Canibus in the background. And Canibus is talking about LL's first, second, and third born, making wife get on the horn, called Millions to Farrakhan and tell him to squash it. I say, nah, he started it. And one of Canibus's legend line in that song is probably because the greatest rapper of all time died on March 9th. Of course, this was 6 months to a year after the notorious B.I.G. had been murdered in Los Angeles. And people think of Big as the best of all time. That's a subjective argument that we'll probably talk about on this podcast another day. But yes, second round knockout gets the hip hop world buzzing. And everyone's like, is LL going to respond? Because the LL, a lot of us were introduced to, not me, because I mean, I knew about Rock the Bells and I'm Bad and, Jack the Ripper, which we'll talk about in a second. But a lot of people in that era, those of us in high school age, remember LL for the legendary Dirty Mac jobs on Hey Lover and Lounge. Like, this was a dude who, was tonguing one girl down with vanilla ice cream in one video and pouring chocolate syrup on a woman's leg in the middle of the damn summer in the lounging video. So we thought of LL as sort of like a ladies' man. We'd call him a Dirty Mac now, but back then, a lot of us dudes were like, yeah, we want to, yeah, those of us were like 14, 15. Yeah, we thought about, drizzling chocolate syrup on a girl's leg all the time. Glad some of us grew out of that. But anyway, so LL, comes up with a response in late April of 98 called The Ripper Strikes Back. And boy, did he strike back. For one, it's a Trackmasters track. And you got to remember that in the 90s and 2000s, the Trackmasters, Tone and Polk, they put out some good records, bro. Some stuff that was danceable, some stuff, to throw bows to, some stuff to cipher with, Trackmasters, they were the Trackmasters. So they gave LL this beat that sounds something like, something out of a gladiator movie. And he just goes off, you want the fame, now you famous overnight, famous for getting by a stick of dynamite. It's like, woo, he's starting off hot. And he's like, talking about all the things the Canibus referenced the second round knockout about, talking about my first and second and third born. Now I got a fourth Canibus, but he cut off from the riches of my empire. He's like, you watch the sitcom, so stop that. And, he gets a mic on this song. Mind you, this is Mike Tyson turns 59 on June 30th. I'm not saying a crossword to Mike Tyson now. Imagine LL Cool J back when Mike Tyson was knocking people out and biting people's ears, ready for all the smoke. Talking about, heard that convicted rapist on the record too. Fresh out of jail, ass cheeks still black and blue. Tell me about the things ear biter taught you. How to bust a nut or two. And then this Mike impersonator comes on and say, yeah, that's sputable with the lisp and everything. It's like, wow. Did he really go there? He went there. It's like, Jesus. And I mean, there's another line that we'll talk about in a minute. Well, we'll talk about it now. He's like 49 pounds and trying to be a mobster running around town with the Bob Marley imposter. That's Wyclef. Ask Canibus. He ain't understanding this because 99% of his fans don't exist. Now, this is a reference to Canibus saying on second round knockout that 99% of LL Cool J's fans wear high heels. So LL was like, all right, so what? 99% of my fans are women, allegedly. But where are your 99% of fans, period? It's like, ooh. We've reached critical mass here. So yeah, it's probably it's absolutely one of my favorite diss tracks. I mean, some people say it's not that good. Some people say it's overrated. It's a matter of taste. But to me, LL Cool J needed to respond in a way to let people know that beast that was still lurking, it was still lurking. Like when he got back at Cool Mo D for How You Like Me Now with Jack the Ripper. Like, I guess that's the point of rap beef is that, when somebody comes at you, you got to give your best shot back. And LL got challenged by, he got challenged by Mo D, made that stand for a while. Then he got challenged by Canibus and he ended Canibus. He told Canibus, career will be over next year. Yeah, I said it. Look over your shoulder. That's where you're headed. And yeah, Canibus really hasn't had the same rub that he had when second round knockout dropped. So, you got to be careful when you spitting at these goats, man. Drake learned that lesson the hard way. Drake should have learned from Canibus because I'm going to tell you, people that look at Drake the same, that's just a stand club. People who look at Drake differently understand that Kendrick is absolutely, nasty business. But that was a fun time in hip hop, I'll say. I mean, actually, 98 was sort of like one of those moments where we started to get back to, hip hop being sort of fun again, because When Tupac was killed in September of 96, I was in 10th grade, and Big died in March of 97. I was still in 10th grade. So I was a sophomore in high school when two of the biggest names in the game died basically over beef. And people were scared. Rappers were scared. The hip hop community was terrified. And then we started to get back, and I mean, we started to get back to the things that made rap great, like keeping it on wax for the most part. Because to me, the only time we can really start quantifying winners and losers, and there's only losers, is if things go too far. That's the only thing that gives me pause about, these battles. It's like, all right, as long as we keeping it on these, keeping it on, well, we say keep it on wax back then, but I guess keep it on stream now would be a little more apropos. But as long as it doesn't bleed over into real life, pardon the pun, and that's not a pun either. But yeah, as long as it doesn't bleed over into real life, let people have their little petty wars or whatever. Let people talk about each other's mom. Let people talk about how people be writing for other people and all of this stuff. As long as it stays there, that's the point. And it never got out of line with LL and Canibus because LL Cool J just absolutely destroyed Canibus. Wyclef tried with the what's Clef got to do with it? Talking about LL's marriage as a cover up. You need Vaseline to get it up, but the damage had already been done. The damage had already been done because Canibus never had the career that was due to, well, I'm going to say due to him, but never had the career people thought he was going to have after challenging LL Cool J, and LL Cool J is still LL Cool J. That's basically how it works. So if you had, I don't know if it's in anybody's top 10, it's in my top 10 as far as diss tracks go. Because every time I listen to it, it's just, man, LL was good and ticked off. And sometimes that's what you need. You need somebody to remind you of who you are and how good you can be. I mean, there's sometimes when people will push your buttons and then it's like, all right, you need a reminder. Y'all need a refresher course. And LL Cool J handed out a top flight refresher course on how to get your ass kicked in Rap Beef 101. Period. Just a great song. The Ripper Strikes Back. I'll put a YouTube. I think I don't think it's on Spotify, but I'll put a link to a YouTube video in the description or the comments below so you guys can check that out. But yes, that's gonna do it for day 2 of the BMM 30 series here on Chris Stevens Writes is my personal YouTube channel. You can go subscribe to that if you want to too. But please subscribe to On the Groove Line. So it's day 2 of the BMM 30 series on the Groove Line. It's in the books. 2 days down, 28 more to go. Got so much more Black music history to discuss. I'm looking forward to sharing it with y'all and as well as my guests. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, tap the notification bell, follow us over on Facebook, check out the website, onthegrooveline.wordpress.com. If you have any questions, shoot us an email at onthegrooveline@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. Any suggestions, or if you know anybody that should be a guest on this program, open to suggestions. So thank y'all for riding with me this time. Until the next time, y'all be good or be good at it.